Dr. Alex Burns, OBrien, and our Director, Executive Director, Lucy Milne, Director of Public Libraries and Engagement Division. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners, the Gadigal people, and welcome to this seminar. Reference services are obviously something that every public library does under the Library Act. However, how to do them isn't in the Act, just the fact that you should. So these types of seminars and the work that the Reference and Information Services Group do statewide really, I think, helps to raise the bar on the types of techniques, resources, and how you might structure those services. So we're really pleased to work with the working group every year on this seminar, and just to see the best practice that's happening around New South Wales. One of the good things also about this group is finding international speakers. So again, today we'll have somebody coming in via the big screen, Andromeda Yelton from the US. And we also are live streaming this event for the first time today from the State Library. So welcome to everybody who's looking at this on a screen. Okay, some of the things that are on today. We've got the Royal Botanic Gardens talking about an insight into their library and how a botanist might use a library. We're looking at things about refugees, information services, what does working with technology have in common with working in a chocolate factory, highlighting the new RefX module, and also the 10 slides in 5 minutes segment, which is very popular. And one of the things that's happening a lot around New South Wales are pop-up library services, and we'll also be hearing about how you might put reference services into those pop-up libraries, which are great for promotion, but delivering library services from a pop-up, I think, is really the next challenge. And a little bit of housekeeping. When you're here today, we've got World Press Photos, which is often one of our most popular exhibitions upstairs. So having a walk through that is highly recommended. And if you're tweeting, it's hashtag RISG 2016. Toilets are out the corridor to your right. And if there's any need to evacuate, you'll hear all sorts of alarms. And the good thing about being in this room is it's just straight out these doors into the domain. Assemble there. So I hope you enjoy the day, and I hope to pop down and see some of the sessions. I'm actually working on something very interesting right now, is Norfolk Island, which apparently is going to be classed as a New South Wales council after 1st of July. And what does that mean for their library? That's my morning. So I'll go and work on that, and I'll hand over to Andrew. Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody, and I'd just like to say it's lovely to see a bunch of librarians here in the lovely Metcalfe auditorium. Now, we've got a great program. It's pretty much jam-packed for the day. I want to say these words: prepare to be inspired. Okay. Well, I've come to a lot of these seminars, and I always am inspired afterwards. I feel like, hey, I can do that. We're going to have a stand and share moment twice during the day where you can stand up and just chat with your neighbour about what's going on in your library, something exciting, something relating to the topics that you've just heard about. So that's going to happen twice. And of course, the wonderful lunch break. Okay. Now, the lunch break, I reckon, is probably one of the most wonderful aspects of this seminar. You've got an hour, eat, but also chat and find out what's going on. Okay. Talk to each other and learn. It's a lovely aspect of the whole day. I'll be presenting this morning, or just introducing the speakers this morning, so you won't have to get bored with me for too much longer. Okay, so thank you, Cameron. Next up, we've got Shawna Miller. Shawna Miller, the State Library of New South Wales. She works for she's the coordinator of the Multicultural Purchasing Cooperative, and she's going to talk about information services for refugees and other migrants. So let's all give a round of applause for Shawna. And I'll be waving at you when your time runs out.
Oh, great.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to have a problem then.
Okay.
Anyway. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Multicultural Acquisitions Coordinator here at the library. I've been asked to step in on behalf of Oriana Acevedo. She wasn't able to be here today. So we had a quick meeting on Monday morning, and we briefly discussed what she wanted me to talk about. So I hope I've covered every base here. And could I ask you, if you need to ask any questions, I'll do my best, but you may be better off emailing Oriana for more detail. So I've been invited to talk to you today about reference services that you can provide to clients from non-English speaking backgrounds. It's also a way of raising awareness about the vast range of information that's out there, and a lot of it is bilingual or in the native languages of the clients that are coming into your library asking about. However, if Oriana stressed that I mention this, and I think I'm sort of, it's Coles to Newcastle's here, but she's asked me to stress the importance of providing good customer service. Now, you're all reference librarians, technicians. I'm sure I'm sort of gilding the lily a bit here. But as Oriana wanted me to say, helping clients who have a good command in English can be difficult, particularly if they have trouble articulating exactly what they need. Now, when a client from a non-English speaking background is looking for information, it becomes even more challenging. They may have limited or little understanding English, and they may have difficulty in expressing themselves, be embarrassed, and even quite fearful. A lot of these people aren't used to libraries in their own countries. They may not have access to them. So they really, they might have been told by somebody, go to the library, you'll get some information there. But that's not an area that a lot of them know a lot about or are comfortable with. So just sort of keep that in mind. So it's going to exacerbate potential issues even further. So firstly, what Oriana recommends is asking the clients who the information is for, because quite often it's not necessarily for them. It could be for a family member. This person may have a better command of English, and so they've been asked by the family to go along and get some information for them. So obviously being open and friendly, that's a great first step. Speaking slowly and clearly. Don't use slang and colloquialisms. Quite often we do this naturally, but it's something once again to be aware of. Don't shout and try not to get too frustrated. I mean, I've worked in reference. I know what it's like. Sometimes it's like, I really don't understand what you want, but yeah, step back. If you're not sure exactly what your client is asking, see if they've got something written down. Quite often they might go to a doctor and the doctor will say, look, if you go to the library, you'll get some information, and they'll write down whatever the illness or ailment is that they're looking for information on. Take your time. Read their body language. Sometimes clients are dealing with suppliers in languages other than English. Their English is rather limited. And I know I've spoken to them in the past and I've said, okay, this is my requirements. This is what I need for this order. And I'll go, so you understand? They'll go, yes. And you think, you've got no idea. It's just the way it is. So you sort of, I find I repeat things again, just to clarify that, they're on the same page, and eventually we tend to get there. Clients from non-English speaking backgrounds, they don't want to offend, so they will say, yes, I understand, but you just sort of get the feeling that they don't. And it's, you just go through it again and just confirm that you understand what they're asking you. And wait and watch. I already said quite often, you might point something out, some information out to them. You don't have to stalk them, but just sort of, watch. And if they sort of look at it for a couple of minutes and they sort of walk away, there's a good chance that maybe that wasn't exactly what they're after. So follow up. Once you've done all these great interview skills and techniques, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and you're still having difficulty, this is where some of the translating services can help. Okay. You may or may not be aware of this one. This is TIS. It's the Translating and Interpreting Service. Now, TIS, it's a service provided by the Department of Immigration and Border Protection for people who do not speak English, and for agencies and businesses that need to communicate with their non-English speaking clients. Local councils, chemists, emergency services, doctors, etc., a lot of them use this service. Now it's available 24 hours a day, every day of the year. They've got more than 40 years experience in the interpreting industry, access to over 2,500 contracted interpreters across Australia, and have access to interpreters speaking more than 160 languages. Now, many councils and libraries already subscribe to this service. So find out if yours does. It's worthwhile finding out. That way you don't have to pay for it because they already subscribe. However, if it's a bit of an emergency or you really want to use this service and your council doesn't subscribe to it, for a 15-minute phone call, this gives you a rough idea. There is a sliding scale of prices on their website, but an interpreting call is $27.17 for 15 minutes, and an after-hours call is $43.34. So there are costs involved, but it's just one of those things. Okay, so I'm going to go back for a tick. Okay, another service that you may or may not be aware of is the Community Language Allowance Scheme, CLAS. We have it here at the State Library. Most New South Wales government agencies must provide language assistance programs for people who do not speak English well or at all, so they can get access to the information that they need. Now, Multicultural New South Wales runs the Community Language Allowance Scheme, called CLAS, which assists agencies to provide language services. A nominal nomination and examination process assures that CLAS employees are proficient. Now, they're not experts, but they're proficient in their languages. Now, these employees are paid a small fee or an allowance to provide this service, and it's generally in part or in addition to their normal duties. Now, I need to stress here that a CLAS recipient only provides basic information, so it's not involved, interpreting or excuse me, translating information. So you need to check if, once again, your council or library offers this service. Many councils encourage staff to apply to get this allowance, and it does mean you have to sit down and do a test. Years ago, when we had it here, if you were proficient in the language, you could get the allowance. Well, they've sort of tightened those regulations up a bit, and so you actually get tested to know what your proficiency is. But quite often, a lot of councils encourage staff, and you'll see ads for staff, having a second language is required. So just see if this allowance is there, because then you can call on that staff member, even if it's in the council, to do a little bit of interpreting for you. Okay, now the following slides that I've got and I want to talk to you about are sites that Oriana's recommended. Now, the first one I want to talk about is the Multicultural Health Communications site. Okay, sorry, I'm a bit behind here. This site, it's a fantastic site. Oriana quite often promotes this one. Sorry. It provides, you can see there, but just below publications and resources, it has multilingual resources listed, and they have hundreds of various resources available in different languages. Quite often you'll find a lot of people come into the library asking about health issues. That's probably one of the more popular ones. Anecdotally, this is what we get told. So this service was established as a result of New South Wales Health Plan, and that's the Health Services for a Culturally, Linguistically Diverse Society. The plan identified the need for the development of a coordinated statewide approach to provide information about health issues and health services to people who speak languages other than English. As I said, the resources, there's over 450 publications on various health matters in a wide range of languages, although it's worth noting that not all information provided is translated into every available language. I asked Oriana about this, and I said, well, oh, thank you. Excuse me. I asked why not every bit of resource is translated into 100 languages. The reason for this is certain diseases and health factors are more prevalent among some country of birth groups. This reflects diverse social and economic, environmental, cultural and genetic influences. Now, there are some examples. Smoking, that seems to be fairly high with people born in Lebanon. Overweight and obesity, these are males born in Lebanon, females in Italy, Lebanon and Greece. Things like tuberculosis, India, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, China, Korea, Hong Kong and Malaysia. So you'll go on to that website and you'll find information for those groups on those illnesses or diseases. The topics available range from abuse to yellow fever and are available in a variety of languages. Now, you'll go on to the site. I think I did that. Yeah, so you can choose by, on the left, the keyword, so that's the ailment. You can see the list of ailments. It goes on and on and on. And then you'll see the language at the top says Greek, but that's a drop-down menu. So if you click on asthma and Greek, it will bring you up, reams of information. Now, each publication is dated. I don't know if you can see that. It says last updated. And you think, that's quite old, 2009, Once again, I checked with Ori about that one. Basically, the resources are reviewed annually for accuracy. Each publication is dated and it's checked once a year. And if they feel that any changes need to be made to that information, they will go on and do that. So they'll put up a new resource. Okay. So that's when I click. Oh, that's something worth mentioning. Every one of these resources is available in English. So that's the English version and that's the Chinese. So it's just a straight translation. Some of the information there is more detailed than others, but a lot of it is just a basic sort of understanding. If they need more, then they need to go to their doctor or their medical practitioner or whatever to sort of discuss it further. You can search the resources by language or by keyword. And it's worth noting that the information provided, it's not intended to be comprehensive, but as I said, it just gives them a basic understanding of what's there. Okay. My slides are out of date from the typical. Spent hours on this. Okay. I'll talk to you about fair trading. Fair trading is an agency that supports and works with local communities to raise awareness of fair trading issues and to provide assistance when people encounter difficulties in the marketplace. They offer a wide range of services to protect the community and businesses of New South Wales. Fair trading is committed to providing a website that's accessible to the widest possible audience, regardless of technology or ability. And it provides a range of translated information in 28 languages. And this information includes areas such as consumer guarantees, renting, your shopping rights. You can select a language. I don't know once again if you can see it there. To the right, you've got the consumer warnings. To the right of that is languages. I did this live, but we sometimes have problems here, so hence the PowerPoint. Oh, okay. So, yeah, you just click that one on and it will bring you up a range of languages and the information. They haven't translated everything. It might only be 3 or 4 areas, but generally it's consumer rights, guarantees and shopping seem to be the big ones. Okay. Next one I want to talk about. This site, to be honest, is a little bit disappointing. I must be honest, RMS. Most of the information here, apart from the Road Users Handbook, is in English. A lot of people from non-English speaking backgrounds drive, funnily enough. Maybe we need to get onto the RMS about sort of updating their information. But once again, this is another area that people come into the libraries want to know something about. And it's not easy to find. It took me a while to find this one, but it is there. If you go into licenses and you will, below that, you will find the handbook, the Road Users Handbook, and it does show you the list of languages that's available. And once again, it's in 10. That's not a lot, and it's your most common languages: Arabic, Chinese, Greek, Korean, Vietnamese. That was a little bit disappointing. Went back to the community. Okay, my slides got away. I thought I was missing something. Back to New South Wales Trading. This is the page. It will show you the resources that it has by language. So once again, drop-down menu. That's information in Croatian on your shopping rights. Once again, it's fairly basic and it will provide you a little bit of basic information, but there is information on the bottom of that that says, please contact blah, blah, blah for further information. So there's a lot of this stuff is sort of starting off points. Okay. Next one, citizenship. Now this is a popular one. A lot of people come into libraries wanting to know, they want to become citizens, which is wonderful, but they don't quite know how to do it, or where they can get information. It's interesting. The Department of Immigration and Border Protection has made this information available. This site provides information on how to apply for citizenship, including eligibility and the citizenship test. Once again, not in any other language but English. Go figure. So, but it's worth knowing it's there. It does have the information. Auburn Library, I believe, if anybody here's from Auburn. Yeah, Ariana was telling me that you have a program for citizenship. You have workshops for library clients to develop a knowledge of the process of what's involved in becoming a citizen. And it's partnered with Auburn Diversity Services, so possibly something that other libraries might want to consider taking up. So good on you, Auburn. I think you're about the only library we know that offers that one. So now to the State Library. We too offer wonderful services to non-English speaking clients. And the first one I want to talk to you about is Find Legal Answers. I should probably ask you to come up and talk to this. So if I get anything wrong, keep it quiet, okay? Okay, as you can see, there's a huge range of legal information that's available in libraries. You've all got this in your own library. You'd all be fairly knowledgeable about what's here. But down the bottom, community languages, and that's what I want to talk to you about. There's a lot of information, legal information available on this site in a huge range of languages. Now, this information has been written by Legal Aid. Who else, Philippa? Yeah, Legal Aid. Yeah, that's what I found when I went on there. So they're all fairly reputable people, so you can trust the information there. I just did this search in English just to give you a bit of an idea of what sort of information there. Bail, privacy, accident, it's a huge range of information. But people quite often, they may have to go to court or may have sort of got into a little bit of trouble with the local constabulary. This will give them a place to look for information that they might need to sort of help them through that process. As you can see, these are some of the pamphlets that have been put out by Legal Aid. The first one is in Arabic. It's on, I think, domestic violence. The other one is buying a used car. And I've got no idea what the third one is. Have you crashed your car? Okay. Oh, if you've crashed your car, what you need to do. And if anybody in the audience can tell me what the third one is, that'd be really good. But I think that's the same one about crashing the car. Okay. Now, this is another wonderful service that we have here at the State Library. It's the Library Press Display. I think many of you may have got a brochure when you came in. There was some out there. This is a service that the State Library offers. Your clients can use this service. However, they have to register for a State Library card. We don't sort of promote this, but if you want to show the client and you have your own library card, please, you're welcome to use that. But if clients then want to continually use this service, they need to sign up for a State Library card, which they can do online, and it's immediate. Now, this has newspapers and magazines, so it's not all just boring stuff. I just did a quick snapshot. I think that was yesterday's newspaper from the Spanish newspaper. A lot of libraries, it's very expensive to subscribe to magazines and newspapers. So this is a way of providing a service for a client where they want to get some recreational reading, if not for more heavy information. Okay. Once again, if you want to get any more information on that, you can contact Oriana or pick up a brochure, but the service is there, and I thoroughly recommend it. Now you're coming into my area. Now I can relax. I think I know what I'm talking about now. This is the Community Languages Directory. Once again, you'll have clients coming into your library. You may not have languages or books in languages in your library that is in their language. So you can use this directory to find out what library you can either direct your clients to, or you might be able to ring them up, get a bulk loan from us. We have most of these languages, and the languages across the top, Armenian, Assyrian. That's a drop-down menu of the libraries. And so you can see OBrien holds Arabic, Chinese, so on and so forth. The State Library has their holdings there as well. These holdings are kept fairly up to date. We check them every year and we try and update those figures. We will remove languages. As you can see, Armenian is there. We did have an Armenian collection years ago, but through lack of use, we did withdraw it. So if somebody comes into OBrien Library and says, look, I want Bengali, and they're so sorry we don't have Bengali, you can check that list and say, look, Bankstown Library's got it. So if they're willing to travel, they can go there. Alternatively, you can ask us for a bulk loan, or you could contact Bankstown and say, look, are you willing to lend some books on interlibrary loan to my client? So that gives them an option. Okay. And that's about the end of my little talk. I hope you found it interesting. These are some websites. If you want to write any of those down, they're there. So it's the National Interpreting Service, the Health Communication Service, who, by the way, if you're after brochures, if you've gone onto their website and gone, those are really good resources. Quite often they will send them out to you in bulk. We get a lot of stuff that we can distribute to libraries. So for Mental Health Week, for example, we could bring them up. They have a big clearinghouse and they'll make those resources available. So you don't have to print them off in-house. So it might be worthwhile contacting them. That's the Citizenship one, the Border Protection, Fair Trading, Roads and Maritime Services, and us. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Shawna. That was really interesting and informative. I learned a lot of stuff then about community languages and the services that we can access that I can now do back at my library. So it was really good to know. Well, we've got another speaker from the State Library, and that is Kathleen Alexander. She's going to speak to us about what does working with technology have in common with working in a chocolate factory? And her name's not Charlie. Okay, so I'm excited about that. Kathleen is a librarian in the Specialist Information Services, nsw.net. So, where's Kathleen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there she is. Sorry, Kathleen. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm about to disappear for just one moment. Now, Ellen, the next slide just goes to mine.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going. In yours next.
Aha, okay, beautiful. So, for about a year and a half of my life and your life, I travelled around New South Wales with my constant companion, the e-lending kit, or ELK for short. Sadly, Norfolk Island wasn't part of New South Wales. Next time. It was an idea that Ross Balharry came up with, based on the Travel Light program in New Zealand. And I had a case of goodies. I had tablets, iPads, dedicated e-readers, and the idea was to give you guys an opportunity to play with these shiny new toys. So during that year and a half, 2014 to 2015, I ran 50 sessions and 270 of you took part. And as I travelled around and as we talked about e-lending, everything was changing to the point where we actually outgrew the e-lending kit. So with the benefit of hindsight, I've had to try to make sense of that year and a half of my life. And it's always nice to tell a fairy tale, a kind of fable, and of what we've all been through and what we've done to get through that and where we have to go. It is early in the morning for metaphor, so I apologise. And the metaphor I'm going to use is chocolate. And in case you're worried that it's only metaphorical, I have handouts. Sorry, Google Hangout people. In dark and milk. Available afterwards. Okay, so where's my, the chocolate's in the way of the mouse. So once upon a time, in a land called New South Wales, all over the countryside and in the city were buildings like this. They were very, very popular places. People flocked to them, sometimes on bicycles, as you can see. And they did so because They were full of chocolate. Not only were they full of chocolate, but they were staffed by friendly and knowledgeable people who used things like the reference interview to help people get exactly the chocolate they wanted. So they were open to all and welcome places where people could come and learn. The kids had children's chocolate time, and we had mobile chocolate services that brought the chocolate out to the people who couldn't get into the library. We probably had chocolate in other languages as well. The kids loved it. Even the blokes were getting into it. Some days, life was just so sweet we had to hug the stuff. Now, I'm hoping this is a kind of library equivalent of Who Moved My Cheese? It's Who Changed the Chocolate? And if it sells anywhere like 26 million, you'll never see me in the Metcalfe again, but I'll pump some back into libraries, I promise. These things were invented. And I remember seeing a room like that when I was in my 20s. And I just thought, that's not going to catch on. I mean, it took 2 blokes to run it, sometimes a couple of ladies. But, you know, like lizards and insects, they kind of get scarier when they get bigger. But these things got scarier when they got smaller. And soon they were everywhere. At the same time, the people who made the chocolate were working on a recipe to make the chocolate invisible. Hard to believe, but they did it. So soon enough, these 2 things, the computers and the invisible chocolate, collided, and you could download the chocolate anywhere you were. Now, when I did the e-lending kit, I surveyed people before they took part in the program. I asked them all to fill out a survey monkey, and I asked them how they felt about the new chocolate. And some people felt like this. Maybe you're in that group that you felt like that. I'll give you a minute or 2 to read it. Other people felt like this. These are direct quotes, both slides. And I remember someone telling me, you can't argue with someone's feelings. Feelings are just feelings. That's how we felt. And I must admit, I felt a little bit like that too, especially the day Ross bought me 32 computers to play with. And I had to set them all up. The thing is that we've gone from a world where everyone felt pretty much like that about the stuff that we dealt with to a world divided. And I guess that's the main thing, not whether you felt like the people in the first slide or you felt like the people in the second slide. It's the fact that we were, as a profession, divided in terms of how we felt about our daily work. So, chocolate disruption had occurred. How did we get from here to here? I'm going to list now, under various headings, the ways in which we got to where we are today and are still going. And there's lots of reasons why it was so complicated, as I don't need to tell you. But only recently I saw a video with Jamie LaRue from the American Library Association, and he listed 3 reasons why, you know, e-books are so complex for libraries. The first thing is ownership. I mean, basically, we don't get to keep the content. The second thing is price. Without ownership, as he says, all you have is an expensive subscription service. And the last one is integration. So how do we get clients across all these different silos that this content is in to make it a better experience for the clients? And all of that is without even starting to talk about the drama of devices and the huge challenge that we've had in helping our clients use them. I remember at one stage I was thinking of starting a campaign that a Kindle is not for Christmas, because you shouldn't be able to give a puppy for Christmas unless you really know the person wants one. And that happened with a lot of people and their Kindles. And I think if you're going to give someone a technology present, you should be morally and legally bound to offer help desk support afterwards. Okay, so the e-lending kit has actually been retired now for more than a year. And I'm looking at various topics now collaboration, technology, education, skills, and looking at different projects that libraries have come up with in those categories. Now, if I don't mention something you're working on and you really like other people to know about it, sing out. Otherwise, email me, because I've been thinking it would be really good to make a list of all these sorts of things. One of the main ways we've gotten through all of this is the way we get through everything, by working together. So things like the International Readers First Coalition, people have heard of. There's now about 300 library services in America who are part of that coalition, and they represent 200 million readers. They publish a buyer's guide to ebook vending platforms, and their principles emphasise things like seamlessness, interoperability, simpler search and browse, and yes, we'd like that too. These topics have also been the focus of advocacy efforts by the American Library Association, and here the Australian Library and Information Association, things like think tanks, issues papers, and government submissions. And very excitingly, some funding was announced recently, Australian Research Council linkage grant, for a project called Legal and Social Dynamics of eBook Lending in Australia's Public Libraries. It's interdisciplinary research. It's led by Dr. Rebecca Giblin at the Faculty of Law at Monash University, and it will, for the first time in Australia, gather comprehensive ebook pricing and availability data. It's trying to understand the social impacts of e-lending and the wider consequences of the regulatory treatment of digital content. We'll be at the State Library collaborating with the researchers, and Ross Bell-Harry will be liaising with you because there'll be opportunities to participate in workshops and surveys as the research progresses, so watch this space. We've also been involved in collaborations with corporations. Many of you have been involved with the Telstra Tech Savvy Seniors program, and there'll be more on that later. And here in New South Wales, some of our zones have been collaborating to get better consortia pricing for some of these products, and also collaborating on device-related initiatives. Technology. There's been some pain around that. I heard some of the pain, I felt it myself. So, devices, as I said, have always been part of the challenge, and that was the whole concept behind the e-lending kit, but it's amazing how quickly those devices became really not that exciting. I remember I had an iPhone that was that big. So. Now, we've gone from a world of Kindles that couldn't and Kobos that can't, to a world where many public libraries have very mature device lending schemes, such as Canterbury Library and Blacktown Library. And now libraries are moving into the area of lending the connectivity as well. So you may have heard that the New York Public Library has a staggering 10,000 hotspots to lend. And I know initiatives in terms of lending connectivity are being planned by public libraries here as well. I know Parramatta Library is looking at, and I think is lending USB dongles to clients who don't have internet connectivity. And often these sorts of initiatives are part of a wider citywide digital inclusion strategy. So they're sort of very much part of the city's approach to connectivity. I suppose also the rise of multifunction devices as opposed to dedicated e-readers has made it a bit easier as well. We've also had initiatives where we've tried to make the technology easier for our clients. Things like Singleton's Home Library Service, where they manipulated the look and feel of the tablets so that you got rid of the clutter and the noise, and clients could focus on only the buttons that they needed to use. And we constantly scan the environment for what's coming out. I remember one library telling me that very cleverly, every Father's Day and Mother's Day and Christmas, they would collect all the junk mail that was in their mailboxes, because if you looked at the ads for what devices were on special, you could bet that they were going to walk in the library the next day they were open. Not a bad idea. So, as we say in the business, education, education, education. There have just been so many ways in which libraries have bridged the gap for their clients in terms of getting through this new world. Some of the big ones have been the Telstra Tech Savvy Seniors program, And that's a partnership between the New South Wales Government and Telstra as part of the New South Wales Ageing Strategy. And just this year alone, New South Wales Public Libraries have delivered training to 2,000 seniors, more than 2,000 seniors. And that's been in English and 8 other languages. So that's very much a part of that program as community language training as well. And there are almost as many types of partnerships as libraries, because libraries have made local partnerships with whoever in their community could help them, and they could work together on this shared goal of helping people understand technology. Local adult education colleges, local TAFEs, youth groups, schools, etc. There's any number of amazing names you guys have for these things. There are digital hubs, Tech Tuesdays, I'm sure there's Tech Thursdays as well, digital drop-ins, help desks, special interest groups, FAQs, how-tos, online and face-to-face tutorials. And of course, now we talk about the technology reference interview, because really helping someone with technology is just a reference question. Just the person has something in their hand. And obviously these activities take their logical extension to other digital literacy initiatives such as coding workshops and maker spaces where technology and creativity meet. We also have been taking the technology to where people live, and programs such as Penrith Library's ECHO, eConnect Home Library Outreach program, where home library clients in their 80s and 90s have been encouraged to use iPads for e-lending. Okay. Innovation. Obviously, innovation and ideas have been very much part of this journey. And an example close to home is the Indie Breeds project, pilot project, which is project managed by Ross Bell-Harry. It involves Leichhardt and Parramatta Libraries and the Odillo platform. The pilot is the first independent public library open ebook platform in Australia, and it supports a diversity of content, independent and Middle East Australian publishers, which can be combined with local and local history and local content and other material. It's looking at exploring a sustainable e-lending model, and is based on the Douglas County Library platform. Some of you may have heard Jamie LaRue speak here at the reference seminar a couple of years back. Trying to achieve a better experience for both the client and the library, and it really allows public libraries to be a content aggregator and acquire content directly from local publishers or content creators. And ideas like that also sort of play part of that kind of continuum of library as incubator, where libraries can actually help content be created and then host it and then lend it back to the community. So you'll be hearing more about that as the pilot progresses and it is evaluated. And very excitingly, the pilot project has made it into American Libraries magazine this month, so I'll have a look at that. Okay. With innovation, though, the tricky thing is always scanning the environment to see what's coming and being prepared to catch the wave. I don't have a slide on this, but Ross was telling me about a post by David Lee King in March this year, and it's called Preparing for Emerging Trends, and then in capitals letters, before you know about them. And he lists 7 things that are important for that, and you can look it up, I'm sure. But being a nimble organisation is one of them. Having a flexible staff, budgeting for it, even if it's not a lot of money, putting money aside to play with things, assigning staff to playing with things, using listening tools, so keeping your ear out for what's happening, attending conferences out of your comfort zone, and then the last one, just do it. Okay, discovery. About 10 years ago, I read an article called Making E Visible by Leslie Williams. It was actually about journal databases, but when you think about it, it's the same challenge for ebooks in terms of getting our content seen and used in a Google world. And there have been lots of different ways that libraries have met the challenge of helping their clients discover the material that they have, all with the holy grail of deep integration. Some of them have been technical, things like discovery layers, apps, platforms, website design, kiosks and screens, but others of them have been social, Things like Newcastle Library's Cafe and Bar, which aims to create an ambient and creative space for culture consumers to meet. Or Camden Library's Books Unbound, a pop-up e-library which signs up new members in growth areas of Camden and also retirement villages, community markets and sporting events, and specifically highlights their otherwise less visible e-resources. And I'm not telling you anything, but all along the way has been the fact that we've needed to look at our skills and keep them relevant for what is ever changing. I've got some slides here from various different people about skills. And your first thought might be, you know, that's 2006, but it's pretty interesting that I think those are still very much things that we need. This is just basic tech competencies. These things like ability to embrace change, comfort in the online medium, troubleshooting new technologies, that's the technology reference interview, and the ability to keep up with new ideas. So 2006, it's still true today. This one's a little further on, 2009, from Colorado Libraries. And I thank Ellen for giving me these ideas. She's found these for me. And these are sort of all the soft skills, like we talk about knowledge, skills and attitude. So it's that combination of those things that we need now. And people are starting to write, and have been for a while, write these type of skills into job descriptions and interestingly also into the structures of their organisations, so that the units and divisions start reflecting some of this activity. And you might think, well, 2006, 2009, you know, we've come a long way since then. But this research is from the State Library of Victoria, and I'll leave it up there for a minute or two, because it tells a very strong story. It's 2014 data from their Our Future, Our Skills research. The tall column is what managers expect of their staff. The blue column is how staff rate their skills. And we're modest, I know, but there's a gap. So that's very recent data. And this is also some research that Ellen coordinated, kind of bringing together some of the things I've said. It's 2014 as well. And it looks at the success factors for the public libraries that have the highest turnover of e-books. And they do come under the sort of categories we've been talking about. Training being a very important part of that for both the staff and the clients. So the journey continues. And I like a quote by Robert Louis Stevenson. I travel not to go anywhere, but to go. I travel for travel's sake. The great affair is to move. And if there's a moral to my story, it's keep eating the chocolates. Thank you.
Yeah, the chocolates are here.
They're real.
Yep. Thanks, Kathleen. That was fantastic. It really got me thinking what Kathleen was saying. A lot of it gelled with me. I'm sure it gelled with all of you too. Yes? It's they're topics that come up now all the time at work, and things have changed. And the chocolate is still there, but it's in different form. So I was really excited to hear that story, and so hear all those things that rang with me. We've been running tech savvy courses at the libraries. We've been teaching these predominantly older people how to use these things, and it just keeps going, doesn't it? We set up workshops for a year, and then suddenly we found out we had to run 3 times as many workshops as we originally booked, and then we had to run it the next year and the next year. So it just keeps going.
I will say though, it's not always the older people. Some of the hipsters really miss the artisanal books, you know. And it's true. It's when I've gone around, it's not been the older people, but the tech savvy thing is the seniors. But yeah,
absolutely. It's not always the older people. So I'm a learner too. I tell the trainees that I'm a learner when I'm doing one of those courses. Anyhow, now's the really exciting time when we get to stand up because you're not getting a coffee break this morning, but you are getting a little break to stand up for 10 minutes and have a chat with your neighbours and share about what you think about those last two presentations. Have a little chat with your neighbours about what you're doing or how it impacts on you. Okay? So, working with technology and information services for refugees. Is that okay?
I'm just going to.
Sorry, I'm late.
I'm just stopping that